or this evening I should say, I'm going to talk about how Schored Projects addresses secure housing for women in 3 ways, and that's through the research that we do, the advocacy that we pursue, and the built work or the practice. So 2 weeks ago we launched a design guide for older women's housing. It's a research project that Schored Projects have done in conjunction with XYX Lab at Monash University, and it was partially funded by the Lord Mayor Charitable Foundation. We've produced the design guide, which is an open resource downloadable from our website and also XYX. And there's an accompanying report that talks about the context of why this research was needed, and the design of our post-occupancy evaluation. We wanted to look at different housing types and older women living within those and how they played out, or how their needs played out, or were met or were not met in some cases. We looked at townhouses, tiny houses, rooming houses, apartment buildings. Sadly, we couldn't get women over 45 in family houses or the refuges. So the research took part in over 3 stages. First, we identified the projects and interviewed the community housing providers about them. We designed our post-occupancy evaluation instrument and collected all the architectural documentation for review. We also did an extensive literature review which identified the need for this research into design. There's lots of research out there about the need, but not much research about the design outcomes. And secondly, we interviewed women over 45 in their homes. We'd also designed an exercise with prompt cards that they took photographs of different elements that we wanted them to consider for a longer period of time than the hour interview. And we did our evaluation of the interviews and those photographs. And finally, our draft report and design guide was presented to an expert panel of people in our sector, the community housing sector, also in the health sector, and we've now finished the final design guide and report. There's 9 chapters in the report. They look at particular spaces and places, so urban location, outdoor space, different rooms within the house. One of the interesting parts of the research that came out from the research, I should say, speaking to women, was this request for additional space. So single women will be offered just a 1-bedroom social housing property. But we did find that women over 45 are incredibly active. 45% were studying to improve their employment opportunities. They also babysat grandchildren, were makers. So this sort of half space or a half bedroom would have really improved their wellbeing in their housing. So we have an introduction to each chapter. We talk about our objectives for that space. We have these beautiful drawings done by my co-author, Sam Donnelly, who's a UTS PhD candidate, and we identify the elements that need to be carefully considered within these spaces. We then talk about actions, which are really positive things to include and things to avoid. And then finally, we talk about how this space can play out in the different typologies that we began with.